Hello, this is Harvard Light. I'm Mary. I give a conservative perspective about the world around me. So, introductions. Feedback is important. Feel free to reach out to me through email, Substack. And all of those things will be provided for you. All right, so some of the audio platforms that I'm on Spreaker, I'm on Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Deezer, just to name a few. All right, so it's Friday, so I'm talking about fashion. Particularly, I'm focusing in on the fashion of Ireland. Here we go. Okay, so this episode might be kind of short. So, here we go. Some of my thoughts here before I get into the aspects of clothes, fashion from Ireland. All right, again, speaks. All right, fashion is a language in itself here. And then what has been going on with contemporary, with the aspects of modern fashion speaks a lot about what is notable or thought of any aspects of a country that has established traditions. So what am I saying? All right, so Ireland, along with other European nations here, they come with generations and generations and generations of tradition and influence here to the world. And so when we get into aspects of modern fashion, modern clothing, what is necessarily being said about the things and the concepts that they're taking about the different Irish brands that are not only notable in Ireland, but they're notable around the globe and in the U.S. What is it saying about the aspects of fashion of Ireland and so forth? And also with the aspects of modern fashion, what is that saying about the culture and the thought process about fashion and identity within certain brands? And that's something to take a look at too when we talk about and we break everything down with the aspects of fashion. Now, it's one thing to, talk about and go into depth about the history of what people were wearing. Sorry, a lot of things are dinging off on my phone about right now. And, now, as I say, it's one thing to say and speak on that. Of course, that, established, the traditions and why people fall in line and, well, not necessarily fall in line, why people think the way they did and how that established the cultural map for that region of a country. And then you start to, it makes a lot of sense. Oh, okay, these traditions is why this is notable in I guess you can say in pop culture and the media, why this was a reference or so forth. It's easy to just look back at history and to make that as a reference. But when you get into the parts of modern identity of a solidarity of the establishment of that country. What does that say about their thought process of the merging world around them? That's something to grasp your head around too. All right, with this said, I'm going to get into the aspects of Irish fashion. And, I'm going to talk about the AI-generated responses. And then I'm going to go and extend out with some more facts. Here we go. Okay, so here we go. It says, with fashion in Ireland, is generally relaxed and varies depending on the season and occasion. In Galloway, college students wear what they want, and there's no specific fashion trend. So I greatly, relate to that. I'm going to talk about from my personal point of view, and then from my husband actually was in Ireland, and then expand out on that. So, personally, I'm from Houston here, and being, I think from the Gulf Coast, and then being near the Gulf of Mexico, you're going to get some funky weather here, to say the least. And then, that saying or the narrative, you wait 5 minutes, the weather can change here. And that's really true. And then, I've seen when it's rainy, hot, then cold, more so now in recent years. But when I was growing up, it was more rainy and hot and all of that. And so my husband, when he served in Iraq, he had a layover in Ireland, and he said, it was typical to be in a situation where it's a sunny day, but it's raining at the same time. So it makes a lot of sense why Ireland is associated with the imagery of lush, rolling green fields, because it's always moisture in the air, and it's suitable. So it makes a lot of sense why it's, apropos, it's appropriate to wear layers when you're going to Ireland. All right, so, and then on the other part, I'm glad that this summer I'm getting the opportunity to where I can start to travel and put my pathway into that. And it's great that I'm gaining that experience, because I can't stress enough, it's really, it broadens and it helps you see things in a very different point of view when you get the opportunity to travel. And I'm so thankful for this, and just can't wait to just continue through my lifespan, and then with my family and so forth, we continue. And it's wonderful. All right, so people tend to dress casually and comfortably with a focus on practicality to the unpredictable weather. Layers are essential for dealing with Ireland's changeable climate, and it's common to see people wearing jeans, t-shirts, and a sweater or a jacket. For a more formal setting, such as a night out, women might opt for a nice dress or a pair of pants with a button-down shirt, while men might wear trousers, a button-down shirt, and a jacket. It's important to know that fashion in Ireland is very relaxed, and you can generally wear whatever you feel most comfortable in. When it comes to footwear, comfortable walking shoes are recommended, and waterproof flat boots are useful for autumn and winter. Umbrellas are not always practical due to the strong winds, so a windproof jacket is a better option. In terms of brands, Pamela Scott is an Irish family-owned business that offers a wide range of fashion items, including clothing, footwear, and handbags. They have 25 clothing stores in Ireland and provide a variety of options for different styles and occasions. Overall, the key to dressing for Ireland is to be prepared for all types of weather and to prioritize comfort and practicality. All right, so I'm going to wrap up with some more facts about Ireland fashion. Here we go. Okay, and of course the source will be provided for you in this episode. The source is from the Irish Times. So it goes into a breakdown of fashion, historical breakdown of fashion. So it starts with the 2010s. So it says, while the Beaumonts of the Bella Echabut, I'm sorry for the pronunciation of that. So these are the Donner, further boas and furs. Irish women dipped back into Celtic myths and pinned their serge suits with precious stones and crusted brooches. So the elaborate pins were inspired by the Tower brooch, which was for a medieval this is, from what I understand, this is the aspects of how you would dress for approval of status in the medieval times, and presumably to save blush by keeping seamless cloth on his manly shoulder. So, to make them blush and everything, and for the suitors and so forth. So, if you want to understand more about that, it says the Tara brooch, discovered in 1850, and was discovered in 1850 and much copied since in the stunning ornate pieces, though masculine, almost weapon-like, is long pin strong enough to bore layers of rough cloth. Perhaps this is why the Nationalism Organization, the Daughters of Ireland, used a Tara brooch as their membership badge, pointing to an earlier time that they felt represented a pure Irish identity. Okay, the shawl. It didn't start with Pagan Mike. It was around a lot earlier, but mentioned the word shawl, and it surrounded with the lamenting of the loss of her playboy, which leaps to mind. So Pagan was now no fashion plate, but decades later in the 1990s, the nation was awash with shawls of different kinds. So pashmina, the luxurious aspects of shawls, and start to become more glamorous. And they got much more hues with shawls, and they were embraced by a nation of female racegoers and wedding guests. And they were drawers full of them in every shade, practical in the country, and known for the force winds and the howling across the tracks. So, racing. But the shawl, as a historical garment, has another more hauntingly beautiful image. So in the 20s, new Irish banknotes were issued with a picture of traditional Irish womanhood. Catherine, to be example, Holohan, with her wool shawl perfectly framing her beautiful face. So the picture was painted by Sir John Lavery in 1923. The model, which was his wife, Hazel, the irony is that she was American. Even though this cool foreign beauty wore this iconic shawl, perhaps roughly, it would have been, and they're trying to say that it kind of, strange to know that this icon of Ireland is actually American. That's quite interesting. So, iron sweater. So, Europe and romantic men's starring in Wonder and At the Alps in 1930s. All this is thanks to the American documentary filmmaker Robert Flattery. Romantic Ireland's Man of Iron took the stormy seas of the Atlantic Ocean. Though Flattery, the fisherman's rugged faces and rough workwear and serge and wool came to international attention. So they, of course they were called jerseys until they are associated now as sweaters. Oh wait, headscarves. In many traditions, Irish traditions, Mammy is wearing a headscarf. A mammy will wear a headscarf. So a rayon chiffon or silk, the headscarf is firmly knotted under her chin. These were the war years. So across the water, the same scarves were knotted atop land girls' heads. While here, women battled, in Ireland with rations and everything, which was accessible fashion and had yet been invented. So we got in the 40s, they're talking about the headscarves in this particular decade of women wearing headscarves in the 40s. So as the 70s hit, it disappeared, and scarves were still seen, but not as, as a means of practicality for women to wear. So it says that Alexander McQueen Skull Print Square is now celebrating their 10th anniversary, and the late Alexander McQueen, and on the walkway introducing Hermes scarves too on the fashion walkway or the runway here, paying homage to those kind of scarves. So tweeted suits of the 50s. All right. So it says this era was the era before disposable clothing, when a good suit was a wardrobe which was essential to be lasted. And so we get into the aspects of the glitterati too in all of this. So 1960s, we get with the mini skirts here. So it says the Derby girls in the aspects of wearing the trends and proclaiming the trends of Irish fashion, youth culture, and the aspects of all of this, and talking about the dawning of modern fashion here. So 1970s, the cape. The cape wore cloth. Many have its roots in the history in the past. And it goes on to talk about President Hillary and his wife, Dr. McGreeve, I believe, opted for a cape or a coat or a shoulder cape. So, capes were highly fashionable garments during the 60s and 70s, with Ireland then leading designers, including, for instance, Sybil Connolly, to be exact. And then there's others if you want to read on to this. So in the 80s, the frock. So we get high street shopping took off, and the idea that clothing had to be sensible and last for years became old hat. So inspired by younger breed of fashion icons, were released and from the aspects of everything from day to day to the frock to and every prince needs a frock, and one which she can sweep into the room, and going to the aspects of royalty and what they were wearing and so forth. And that came more prevalent in the 80s, access and wanting more and so forth, and with the getting away from the need of practicality here. So the 90s and polo necks, and the late Sinead O'Connor and showing a photo of her with the aspects of her, prevailing with the concepts of modern fashion with Irish fashion, particularly with Irish women, assembling, a symbol of what I guess a notable mainstream symbol of Irish culture was associated with Sinead O'Connor. I'll say when our first female president needed to be taken seriously among predominantly male international leaders, she chose the polo neck. To be fair, what she actually chose was a smartly tailored suit, but the problem of what to wear underneath has plagued many a female leader before President Robertson's inauguration in 1990 and since with the mixed results. So Maggie Thatcher bow blouse looked fuzzy and middle age, and Angela Merkel's tendency towards lower necklines with the necklace is distracting, and Christine Lagarde's scarves can also, on occasion, outshine her soft-spoken persona. So the polo with the smooth, clean lines kept the look simple and says, "I'm in control." So the naughties and the racing hats. So the naughties is a way of saying the 2000s is British slang here. So it says, goes on to talk about women with the aspects of, the grandeur, grandiose of. So I associated what they're talking about here and ending here with the aspects of the derby and the horse races, and there's a long tradition, of women wearing these lavish hats, and they get more lavish. They've gotten more grandiose and more lavish throughout the years. And so, that's in itself is high fashion. Some people consider that high fashion. Some people consider that just spectacle and so forth, and over the top and ridiculous. And I think that's what they're trying to associate themselves with, the aspects of talking about the racing hats here. So it goes on to end to say, fabulous or ridiculous? Well, of course, it's ridiculous. And weather, when you consider the Irish weather, it's not practical. But still fancy, and these hats refuse to go away. So the fascination seems like it's here to stay, along with the best dressed competitors at the horse races, of course, all over the land. So with prizes like a car or 10,000 pounds shopping spree. Excuse me. It's worth, excuse me, going all out for what you need. All right, so I'd like to know what you all think. Reach out to me. This reaches the end of the Harbor Line. Man, I'm going to end it because my throat is killing me right now. Tune in, turn up, and take care. Bye-bye.